All right, hello students. This is the start of week 6. So this is going to be my video overview. I'll be going over the activities we'll be doing within the modules this week. And of course, I do expect you guys to continue your efforts working on your special interest blogs. Right now, you should already have your website created and at least 2 or 3 blog posts on your website. So you definitely want to continue working towards that project, getting it nice and polished and ready for your readers. So this is what we'll be doing this week. If you go into the module, you'll see it looks something like this. And of course our module that has all of our instructions and our activities for our special interest blogs, you can find it right here. But if you scroll down a bit, you're going to go to the very last page of the first module. So we are done with our first module. Congratulations, students. We are finished. But if you go down, the only thing that we need to do, the only thing that's due on October 5th for Module 1, it is the summative assessment. And so summative assessments, that's the way teachers like to call our big end-of-unit test. This is a big end-of-unit test. I'm going to be checking your skills with identifying claims, identifying the evidence that supports those claims, and being able to explain the reasoning and the relationship between those two. And so I went over this in my last video if you want to watch that and see what you need to do. But this is due this coming Monday, October 5th. So make sure you get that done. Alright, so now that we're done with Module 1, you'll see a few pages have already opened for Module 2. So if you go to the first page of Module 2, you will see our essential questions. How is the rhetorical situation important in persuading an audience? How do authors use tools to persuade an audience? How does a rhetorical précis show a person's understanding of an argument? How do authors use specific words and phrases to persuade an audience? And how do you write a rhetorical analysis paragraph? And I know a lot of that sounds like mumbo jumbo, and it sounds a little daunting and a little scary. But don't worry, I'm here for you every step of the way. You guys are going to be masters of argumentative writing, and you guys have already shown me that you do know quite a little bit with ethos, pathos, logos. And that is going to be a big part of our lessons coming up here. So, relax. You'll be okay. We're just starting a brand new module here, so this is the stuff that you'll know by the end. So don't stress out. Okay, if you scroll down, you'll see I've listed the Common Core State standards that we'll be focusing on during this unit, along with a few ELD standards that you can check on your own time. If you go to the next page, you'll see a glossary of terms. This glossary contains a lot of words that we will be looking into in more depth. And so some of this should be familiar. We've already talked about ethos, logos, pathos. But, we'll start talking about, points of view and author's tone. And we'll definitely review that claim, evidence, and reasoning that we've mastered in the last module. Okay. And so we're going to be starting the first lesson of the second module here. And so the essential question we're focusing on in this first lesson is, how is a rhetorical situation important in persuading an audience? And you'll see we're going to open it up with a short discussion. And in this discussion, we're going to be talking about argumentative speaking, and you are going to write a prompt. What is the message in this commercial? What is the purpose of this commercial? And how is this commercial used to persuade the audience? Do you agree with the message? Please explain. So this is it's an older commercial, but we'll watch this together in class, and we'll listen to Michael Jordan give an inspiring message, and in this discussion you'll really break it down along with your classmates. Also, always, 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 you want to respond to at least 2 other classmates when we have a discussion. So if you go to the next page, we see our introduction to rhetoric. And in this lesson, you'll understand some of the basics of rhetoric, and you'll understand what a rhetorical situation is. Basically, when I talk about rhetorical situation, I'm talking about all that background knowledge that you need to understand about a speaker and their motives, what you need to understand as being part of the audience, you know, all of those things that come into play when someone is trying to persuade you to change your mind. And so we'll look at the rhetorical situation together, and it's actually a lot easier than you think. So what you'll do is you'll view this video, and you'll skim through this slides presentation that talks about the rhetorical situation, and I will definitely in class be giving you a lesson on this in person, so you have that to look forward to. But if you find that you're absent or you're not able to make it, I expect you guys to go through this on your own time, and it might be a good idea to take down some Cornell notes along with the presentation. So if you go to the next page, you'll see your first activity here, and we're going to be working on something that's called a PAPA square worksheet. And what you'll do for this first assignment is you'll actually, with one worksheet, you'll look at 4 different advertisements. Now, in the next worksheet that we do, you'll only look at one, and you'll actually break down a poem into 4 areas. But for this one, if you look at the slides presentation, and let me make it nice and big for you. If you look at the slides presentation, it gives you a few tasks. And so it asks you what the purpose of this first ad is. And we can tell that this is definitely a Pepsi ad. And so we'll break that down more together later. Then it has you look at another ad. But this time, instead of looking at the purpose, it has you look at what the argument, what the message is. And so what is the message of this ad we're seeing right here? Now, this can be really tough. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. This can be really tough because this just looks like an image of a car. This just looks like a truck. But what is the argument here? What is the message behind this? The next one, it asks, what is the persona or the speaker in this ad? And so when we talk about a persona or a speaker, we're talking about like the face that's giving us a message here. And so you'll have to answer that. And lastly, who is the intended audience of this ad? This ad is directed at a certain group of people, and you need to tell me who that certain group is. And when you're done with that, this assignment gets a little tricky. I don't really like how it was built. I didn't make this. I'm not a fan of it. It's a little confusing, so I'll just show it to you right now. Oops, wrong button. Let's make a copy of this. All right, so this is the PAPA square, and I mean, I think this is a lot easier to use if you're just using one advertisement and you're breaking down the purpose, the audience, the argument, and the persona there. But with our activity here, with our slides presentation, we're looking at 4 different ads. And for example, if you see the first one, what is the purpose of this ad? We're looking at the Pepsi ad here. And so where it asks what the purpose is, you'll give me the answer. You'll answer this, what is the purpose, in the purpose box. All right, so make sure that you're following the language really well. It's not numbered. It doesn't tell you exactly for what ad to answer each question. So you're just going to have to use your common sense here. For example, if you look at the next one, what is the argument of this ad? And so you're looking at the argument of the truck ad, and you will write that here in the argument space. You won't talk about the truck ad in the purpose space because you already talked about the Pepsi ad there. But for the argument, this is where you look at the truck. For the next one, you're looking at Chanel, you're looking at Brad Pitt here. You'll talk about Brad Pitt because he's looking, this question is asking for the persona and the speaker. You'll put that in the bottom persona box, and so on and so forth. So just make sure you do that correctly. It is a little confusing, and but it's actually really easy once you figure it out. All right, we have another presentation here. This one I'll also give to you in our Zoom meeting, but you can flip through here on your own, and it basically talks about those 4 categories. It talks about the rhetorical situation. So when we consider an advertisement or an argument or any persuasive piece, just understand that, you know, we're looking at 4 things here. We're looking at the purpose, what is the motivation behind that piece. We're looking for the argument and the main message that they're making to us. We're considering who the speaker is. We're considering who the person is who's trying to get us to change our mind, because that definitely comes into play with their purpose. Okay, if we know who's giving us the message, we can better find out what their purpose is. And then last but not least, we have to understand who their intended audience is. So, you know, that's important to consider when we're talking about rhetorical situations. And This next activity, it has you practice again with the PA square. But this time, instead of looking at 4 different advertisements, you are just going to be reading one poem. And we'll read this in class together. And the slide presentation, it'll walk you through the process. Actually, no, the slide presentation is just the poem. That's not supposed to look like a slide. That's supposed to look like a document. I might have to fix that later. But anyways, you'll read this poem, Still I Rise, by Maya Angelou, and you will complete the Papa Square. But remember, you're only looking at, when we talk about the persona, we're talking about the speaker of the poem. Who's the audience of the poem, what's the main purpose of the poem, and what is the argument, what are they trying to get you to do, how are they trying to get you to change your mind. Okay, so you'll go to the next page, and we'll actually dip our toes a little bit into the next lesson of the second module. And so you'll just familiarize with this essential question: how do authors use tools to persuade an audience? It states our learning goals and our common core state standards down here. And all you're going to do in this lesson, you're not going to do too much, you're just going to participate in one final discussion. And in this final discussion, they give you the prompt. The tire company Michelin has used a version of the commercial below for decades. Watch the commercial and consider the following questions. How are commercials arguments? What do you think makes this commercial so effective as an argument? How is the threat of adversity a part of the argument? And is it unethical for companies to use the threat of adversity to persuade an audience to buy their products? So we'll definitely work through that together. Just make sure this is about it. This is where I'm going to leave you for this overview. It's important that you guys do attend our regular Zoom meetings because I go way more into depth into what we're learning. I'll be presenting those slides presentations to you. I will be teaching you. I am your teacher. That is my job, and I really like doing that. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. And have a great one. Bye.